Welcome to the Tech Today podcast. It's your host, John Maeda. So you're looking at the Arena leaderboard for the various LLMs. A number of other folks have talked about how Gemini has taken the #1 spot atop the leaderboards. And you could see Gemini 1206, 2.0, 1121 vis-a-vis ChatGPT 4.0. 01 preview, 01 mini. So the AI king is once again the AI king, this time as it relates to Gen AI. And I think Google is going to extend its lead in the Gen AI space and provide a superior user experience because Gemini is tightly integrated with Google's cloud. Given that Google owns both its Gemini family of LLMs as well as its cloud, it can optimize that experience by ensuring that Gemini is optimized for the cloud and that the cloud is optimized for Gemini so that the user achieves the optimal experience. And when you compare the Google Gemini relationship to these technology partnerships where you have the LLM company partner with a cloud provider, that experience may not be optimized. So if you consider Anthropic and AWS, OpenAI and Microsoft, in each relationship, you're talking about two different companies. And even though you have a formal technology partnership in place, you still may not get that optimal experience between the cloud and the LLM when they're owned by two different companies as you would if they're owned by the same company, as is the case with Google. And that's why I've always preferred technology acquisitions to technology partnerships, because you can control an acquired company in a way that you can't control a company in a technology partnership. So when you acquire a company, or in the case of Google, these companies were, the Gemini effort is an organic one. When you own the asset, you can control the product strategy, the product roadmap. You can control the user experience. You can control all the various elements around the experience because you control the IP. But when it's, let's say, Anthropic and AWS, maybe every element of that experience isn't exactly optimized in a way that would create the optimal experience for the user for whatever reason. Maybe due to difference in product strategy, difference in sort of the UI, difference in the longer term product roadmap. Perhaps there are financial constraints. So let's say if down the road Amazon wanted to de-emphasize the capital allocation toward Gen AI just in a particular quarter, right? Maybe there's another initiative going on and they want to, just allocate capital in a different way for a 90-day period. And as a result, AWS doesn't get a number of updates. And as a result, maybe there are some things that Anthropic can't release because AWS isn't optimized for what Anthropic wants to release. And you could say the same thing around OpenAI and Microsoft. Perhaps Microsoft will have some initiative around Azure, and that initiative will delay the release of elements that OpenAI wants to release. And, right now, Gen AI is the priority for Microsoft, although it seems to be focusing more on its own models versus OpenAI. And Gen AI is the priority for AWS, but that could change. That could change if interest rates remain high, if investors sour a bit on quote unquote the AI space, which I laugh at that phrase, but it's a real phrase. And if Gen AI ceases to be the shiny new object, then you could certainly see the space, Gen AI, get less capital allocation. It's easy for me to imagine a time, sometime in the next couple of years, where Microsoft and AWS de-emphasize Gen AI for whatever reason. Meanwhile, I could imagine Google continuing to plug away because it's what they do. They are at the core an AI company. And um, even if Google was to de-emphasize Gen AI for a period, they would do it whereby Gemini and Google Cloud in concert take a pause, right? Because Google controls the entire portfolio. Now, that may change down the road. Perhaps I could absolutely see Anthropic being acquired by AWS. I don't see Microsoft acquiring OpenAI. Certainly not why the current valuation for OpenAI is where it is. But down the road, that may be the case. And even then, I would give the edge to Google because of what I just said about Google at its core being an AI company. Microsoft really isn't. It's an application and infrastructure company. And Amazon really isn't an AI company. And maybe down the road it will be. Maybe down the road, Amazon will spin out AWS. AWS will acquire Anthropic, and then the combined AWS Anthropic could really, at its core, focus on AI. That would be different. Then you'd have a true culture, self-contained culture focused around AI, but that's not the case at present. So I think Google is going to widen its lead because it controls the IP around the core element, the core piece being the LLM, and it controls the service delivery mechanism, which is the cloud. And that's incredibly important, the fact that it controls those two pieces. That's all for now. See you next time.